Hello, everyone. This is Dwight Woods, the Jeet Kune Do Rebel, and welcome to today's program, episode number 129 of the Jeet Kune Do Dialogues. As you're logging in, if you'd be kind enough to say where you're logging in from, hit the like button and feel free to continue doing so throughout the dialogue. Also, be sure if you're watching the final edit video, as a matter of fact, come to think of it, everybody will be watching the final edit video. Over there, please subscribe and hit the like button and also hit the notification bell. If you enjoy my work and you'd like to support the program, consider making a purchase over at jkdrebel.com. Click on the Rebel Gear link and check out our offerings. But of course, as always, the best thing you can do is to share this video and spread the word about the Jeet Kune Do Dialogues. So one of my dialogue partners of today is making his second appearance on the program. Our mutual dialogue partner is debuting, but apart from that, I believe they have a bunch of things in common, and so I'm excited to talk to them today to discover what makes them similar and what makes them different. And so Ed Stahl and Mark Cukro, welcome to the Jeet Kune Do Dialogues. Everybody enjoy. I love Jeet Kune Do broadcasts. The laptop died.
Oh, that's true. Oh.
You know how I sign off. You know, this is Dwight Woods, the JKD Rebel, and what have you. And, and then I do the salutation. Just as I was going to do this, it went dead.
Oh,
and it is now a blue screen situation.
Oh, blue screen of death. That's no good. Oh.
It is now a blue screen situation. So, yeah, it's nothing good. So I had to default to this one, and this one doesn't have. There's something that it needs from Be Live that Be Live needs from this laptop, and it doesn't have it yet.
Oh, okay.
So yeah.
Oh, Mark's here.
Well, but we can't see you yet, sir.
Yeah. All right.
And we know he's a Zoom expert. He was just on Zoom, he told me.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Adjust something real quick.
Okay, there we go.
All right, this is weird. This camera's not working.
Yeah, your camera isn't on.
Yeah, it says it's failing, and I just restarted the computer. I just finished doing a webinar on Zoom like an hour ago.
Right. Yeah, I mean, the thing is, we would do it this way, but you're cuter than the two of us. So, you know.
Let me see here. What is going on here? Man, let me see here. Let me try Zoom again. Start Zoom. Sign in. I'm going to try to do it again.
Okay.
It may have been installed twice and only one's working. Sometimes. I love technology when it works, man.
It's great when it works.
It is the greatest thing. But Ed, refresh my memory. Isn't this your life? Isn't tech your life?
Yeah, I work for Lowe's Home Improvement as a software engineer. So.
Yeah. Oh, well then, okay, when we're done with this, I'll tell you what the blue screen response is. Whatever. Okay. All right. So we're limited to 45 minutes. So we got to do this fast.
Okay. Right? Can you see me now though?
Yeah, yep. We got you.
Good. All right, perfect.
Okay. So I will do all the intro and outro stuff afterwards. Here's the first thing I wanted to ask the two of you. Do you have an identical start in martial arts, or do you just happen to have Scott Shields in common?
So Ed, was Scott your first martial arts teacher?
Technically, he was the first school I went to. I started with a student of his, David Quigley, first.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
I got my first instructorship under Sifu Scott.
Okay. So, and for me, I'd been training for several years before I met Scott.
Mm.
And actually, I met Rob Kelly first. And a few of my friends in the Charlotte area, we used to train at a park in Charlotte, Oakhurst Park. And we would travel and train in some other places. And I kept hearing about Rob Kelly. And I met Scott, it was a couple years later, I think. He was at a small place next to an ice cream shop in Mint Hill, North Carolina, carpet, no mats. And Rob Kelly was his instructor for Jun Fan, JKD, Kali, Muay Thai, everything.
Okay.
I visited one day, and Scott and I had been, for some reason, people have always associated me with grappling. And so Scott was like, "Oh, so you're a grappler?" I was like, "Well, I don't know. I mean, I just have a little experience." And Rob, "All right, if you can make one class, you can stay." And so I was at the hands of Rob Kelly, and Rob was the JKD Kali instructor,
Right.
and Thai for me and Scott and whoever else was there. And then, so both of them were my instructors, but we were both students of Rob's.
Okay.
And we moved to another location in maybe a couple miles away, and Rob taught there until he eventually went to school for nursing. And then Scott was my primary instructor. So my rank up until that point was all under Rob and Scott at the same time.
Right. So, and why did you have a reputation as a grappler?
Well, I had been training before in the area, and it's like, it was a really small community at the time.
Okay.
A few friends of mine were catch wrestlers and wrestlers, and people just, I don't know, like you just kind of get identified as being better at one thing or another. And I didn't even really grapple that much. I was really strictly a Muay Thai JKD Kali guy. And it was interesting. I never expected it to happen. And I wasn't even that good at grappling, really. And a couple of my friends, you know, that we trained together, there was a lot of catch wrestling in Charlotte at the time. I'm professional wrestling. And of course, because of Sifu Larry Hartzell,
Right.
here, Ruben Griffin, Michael Brown, who I know Michael and Dickie Harrell pretty well.
Right.
And I talk to Mike Brown pretty much every day. That guy's awesome. I love that.
Yeah, he's gonna kill me that we couldn't go live on Facebook.
Yeah, probably. Yeah. He'll send you a message.
Yeah, he's gonna be very upset.
So,
okay.
I trained with a lot of those guys, and then kind of all paths led to Rob Kelly and Scott at the time in the area for what I was looking to learn. And then Scott and Rob shared a lot of Shudo, and so that's really where I got a lot of the Shudo training from, because Sifu Larry and Eric used to come to Charlotte all the time, especially Sifu Larry. Mm-hmm. He'd visit family, and then he would ask us to take him out for a barbecue place or like, you know, and then that was it pretty much. Yeah.
Ed, when Mark mentions all those names, right? Dickie Harrell, Ruben Griffith, when he mentions those names, what do you hear and what do you think?
So I know that they are Charlotte staples. There are people that have been training in the JKD community much longer than like I've even thought about training, like probably 4 or 5 fold. So you know, I hear them, and like they've been around for a long time. So there's a lot of respect there. Like I know Guru Dickie Harrell like was one of Guru Dan's bodyguards back in the day. Obviously, I'm remiss because I never got to meet Sifu Larry. I've heard a lot of stories about him from Scott and Ron. So it's just he's a Charlotte native. So I was just like, oh man, I started training too late.
Right. Yeah. You see, this is one of the reasons, right? Because actually, I was still trying to work out like your generations. You know, because we can't tell how old Mark Cukro is. I mean, he looks like he looks like he's 20, right? You know, but I think we have to think he's a little bit older than that. But this is one of the reasons why I say that the Jeet Kune Do family is one of the biggest. We just don't know it. You know, it's a small world, but it's a big martial art family. It's just too disorganized, right?
Yeah.
So, okay. So give me a year reference, Mark, for when you got involved with Rob Kelly.
I think it was 93, 94, pretty much.
Okay.
Right there.
So 93, 94, what were you doing, Ed?
I was in elementary school.
Okay, let me just say I'm 50. Okay.
Okay.
But I was kind of like the young guy in the group of those.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Isn't that funny?
Yeah.
It's so funny because I was talking with last week with Alex Richter, the Wing Chun guy, and because he had talked about James DeMille and Seattle and what have you, in my mind, I'm thinking this kid's from the 80s or whatever, and he's not. Right? He's not. Okay, all right. So then we have common origins.
Mhm.
And Mark, what I find fascinating is that you weren't known as a grappler, but I think now if somebody just pulls up images of integrated martial arts,
Yeah.
it looks like a grappling school, doesn't it?
It does, yeah. And it is the biggest class that we have at the academy. But I love the JKD mindset, and I wish more people would have that approach to like taking in all of the arts from all of the ranges and figuring out like where you fit in and where your attributes best suit you. And I really admire that about like most JKD people I meet are very open to incorporating pretty much any other art.
Mm-hmm.
And I think jiu-jitsu people are starting more now than ever before to get to that point. And but you know, there's more to the martial arts than just one art. And so I really I remember training with like Rob and Scott, and Larry would come, and Eric Paulson would come, and there was a guy, Doug Bradford, that trained all the time, and all these other guys. And they were just the people that showed up. Like we used to have a guy named Grandmaster Bobby Tabata show up and just teach Kali, right. And then George Mandropoulos. And they were just like the guys that taught class. I never knew how blessed I was to train with all of these people and then have them bring their friends in. And so I'm really glad that, you know, if you pull up my website, you would probably think we're a pure jiu-jitsu school, but absolutely not. The JKD and Kali students are a smaller group. Man, they are dedicated and they love it. And it's interesting because when we take some of those arts and put them into jiu-jitsu, almost always people are like, man, where'd you get that foot lock or that leg lock?
Yeah.
You know, mix it in.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you know, you got two choices at that point.
Right. What's the biggest class at your place, Ed?
The biggest one is Muay Thai at the moment.
Okay.
We've had a really big explosion with that.
Do you think it's you think that in both your cases, is it a generational thing? That's like the adjective that I've been using a lot recently, because Muay Thai and BJJ, that's what's put in front of this current generation more so than anything else.
Yeah, I would say so. Like, for example, the two biggest classes at my school, despite me being a JKD guy, is Muay Thai and Jiu-Jitsu. Mm-hmm. And, you know, JKD, actually Kali is next. JKD is actually my smallest program. But, you know, Kali has been really steady. Those people that have joined the Kali program, they don't leave. Like, you know, they were like, oh, I moved to like South Charlotte, but I'm still driving here. I'm like, okay, thanks.
Yeah.
You know, and I try to be very kind to them in terms of like, you know, you're driving past other Kali schools, you know, you might want to make that easier on you and things like that. So it's,
you're a kind-hearted businessman. Mark,
yeah.
Mark, do you second that approach?
What do you mean as far as traveling?
Yeah, I mean, if I had a student who was driving past other schools to come train with me, I wouldn't tell him that.
Yeah, no, I mean, pretty much. Like, people will figure it out.
I'm just teasing, Ed.
It's interesting because, you know, like people just, they pick their preferences, but I will usually tell someone, I encourage my students highly to go to other places.
Mm-hmm.
I get looked at oddly sometimes for that, but yeah, listen, man, this is your home. Travel wherever you want to go.
Yeah.
If you want to drive to another place, I'll help you find it. You want to drive past another place to get here, I'm going to open my doors for you. So
Yeah,
pretty
yeah. I'm just. I mean, one of the standard questions in my information call, anytime somebody calls me, is what part of town are you calling from?
Mm-hmm.
That's standard. I mean, when I ran the big school, that was included in the script,
Right.
you know, for answering the phone, because we wanted to eliminate any any obstacles from the very first time that we started talking to them. You know, Mark, you said something interesting about the jiu-jitsu people and their eyes opening up and
Mm-hmm.
their minds opening up a little bit more of recent. And
Yeah.
I thought about it because I have some Jeet Kune Do colleagues who they only get involved with me if they'll get involved with this episode because I'm talking to you, because of your Pedro Sauer lineage.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah, and that's yeah, and it's like, but and there's always going to be that. Like, if you have someone that specializes or kind of a high rank in one art, you'll get that group to come in. But what I hope is that they get introduced to, like, wow, if he really believes in the other arts, maybe I should look into it a little bit. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. So I'm all for.
I mean, when I think of off the top of my head, you know, Levon Martin, and Ted Georges and Alan Baker and and then do you know the guys in Inverness, Florida? Gosh,
Chris Holmes,
yes, and Kathy and Kathy,
yeah,
right?
Kathy Ortiz, yeah, sure do.
Right. Okay. So I think the JKD clan has kind of made an inroad into the Pedro Sauer organization, right?
I agree with that. It's interesting that it's such a common ground for people, but yeah, I think so.
Yeah. All right. Ed, the first time we spoke, and actually that I got to remind myself to put that into the intro. The first time we spoke, refresh my memory, because you had told me a very touching story about, what was it, almost quitting running the school, almost closing the school?
Yeah. There's been, you know, running a school is hard.
Fun.
It's so fun. Yeah, it is. It's very, very rewarding. And history kind of has an interesting way of repeating itself if you don't learn from it. And one of the things that happened with me is I almost closed the school 2 years ago. I had a friend that we opened the school with, and his name is Bill, and I love Bill to death. And he moved to Wisconsin, so he could no longer help out with the school. And because of my day job, I couldn't balance both very well, and I lost a lot of that kind of capital too. So it was kind of a do or die moment. That's when we moved from the previous location to this location here. You know, we followed every mistake that they say in the E-Myth is that as you shrink down, you just implode. And that's kind of what happened then. And, you know, it's one of those things where it really makes you put things into perspective in terms of, how do I want to continue teaching? You know, what am I going to do and how am I going to make this work?
Right.
And, you know, that was kind of what I had to do. And we've been very, especially in the last 6 months prior to coronavirus, the 6 months prior to that. So I guess the past 9 months, you know, we've had a really big turnaround in terms of how the school is doing and things like that. Because where we're at now is about 900 square feet, but only about 600 square feet of mat. So we're not a very big school,
right.
But we fit 20 people on here, and they're running into each other and all that. So
whatever it is you're doing, keep doing it, because I had no idea your school was that small.
Yeah.
From the pictures that I've seen, right? I always thought it was big. Mark, did you go through anything like that, or was it all smooth sailing you know, in your charmed existence.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't call it smooth, but you know, like because I managed very large service departments for realty companies. I was accustomed to organizing departments and service culture.
Yeah.
And but I started off like everybody. I was just hoping to pay the bills and break even. And then, you know, saving for t-shirts was like a lot of money.
Yeah.
And then once you do that, you move up, and then I kind of had a reserve that I would operate from, and then just scaled up. And now this is my, I think, 5th location in past 12 or 13 years, something like that.
Okay.
So I went through the same growth that everybody else goes through. I usually, you know, that's it. So pretty much, but I feel very fortunate for having the business background in order to help. And you can run a business and run a martial arts school and be like very honest with integrity at the same time. And so I think that's important to know. And I went through the same thing everybody else did. Started in the garage with a space heater. You get to buy a new extension cord every 2 months. And,
Yeah.
you know, now here we are.
In the old days, it was almost always said about JKD guys that they sucked at business. Is that still being said?
I don't think so. I mean, you know, I think that kind of idea of that, no matter what martial art is, people just want to do what they love, and they don't know how to run a business doing what they love.
Right.
So I don't think that's the case anymore. I think the people, you'll either grow into the role or fall away from it. But I think most people now are pretty good at it. So overall,
Do you have any idea where they went to learn martial art business?
I think most people use a few models. I would say the traditional martial arts schools, they would emulate a lot of that, fitness centers, and then like alternate kind of art places. And but as people get more interested, the audience that's attracted to it typically has like a higher default level of business knowledge and acumen. Mm-hmm. So more and more people get into it, they're just bound to be more business people that know how to run an academy. And so
Ed, where did you get your martial art business education?
I got it from a few places. You know, the School of Hard Knocks. But in all due honesty, I've known Mark now since 2009, and I've seen how he's run his school, and then how Scott Shields ran his school, and gotten help from other people in the industry. Like a lot of times you can join an association, like I'm sure Professor Mark will say with like the Pedro Sauer Association, a lot of those associations help the business owners kind of get the base and then help build up from there. Yeah. So I think the associations are learning that if they don't help the schools or the affiliates grow, then they're not going to have that many affiliates.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree with that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Let's talk about the generation, the current generation, because you're both Jeet Kune Do schools, but Jeet Kune Do is not, let's say it's not on the sign out front.
Right.
Right. Do the people that come to you, do they even know, if you say, well, yeah, Bruce Lee and Jeet Kune Do they know what you're talking about?
So I think most of the people that are probably, I would say 10 years younger around than me or older, everybody knows who Bruce Lee is. If I ask my two 16-year-old kids at home, who's Bruce Lee? If I wasn't their father, they would have no idea. So the parents that bring their kids in all know who Bruce Lee is, but kids and the teenagers, it's kind of like if you ask them who John Wayne is, they're like, who? And you're like, that's right. And then once you get into it, you learn, and then they're blown away, usually, at like the history and the impact. But the younger part doesn't know it so much.
So that is imparted to them. That information is imparted to them ultimately.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. See, because you know, a lot of in your case, Mark, because I'd say that again, from the imagery of the school, people would say, well, he's a jiu-jitsu guy without really knowing. I hear from a lot of people that somebody like you has turned his back on Jeet Kune Do. I know better, but
Yeah.
there is that perception, you know.
Well, I can see how, because if you look at our photos, the imagery that you'll see is mostly people in a gi, probably 100 photos, and 4 or 5 with guys with focus mitts and sticks or sticks and knives. So if you don't really dig and ask questions, I can see how you could come to that conclusion. But I'm not turning my back. Those arts are amazing. And I tell everyone that I have the opportunity to, especially jiu-jitsu people, you need to learn Kali, for me, for weapons and zoning and how to open someone up, and Jun Fan for range manipulation and focus mitts and really understanding rhythm and broken rhythm, and just all of the other attributes that come with it. So you have to learn all of them. You can't just think one is all of them. Now, jiu-jitsu striking is usually defensive in nature, so you can set up a clinch.
Mm-hmm.
There is striking in it, but there's not striking like in JKD and Kali. And I recommend everyone cross-train in one of those arts at least for a while. And most people that do are surprised at how much they like it.
Right. Yeah. Where did they start out? When somebody starts out at your school, and do they get to choose where they start, or do you choose it for them?
So most people, if they know, they have an idea, then I will guide them towards that direction, and then later ask them. What I ask everyone as soon as they come in is, do me a favor, do whatever you want to do, but Ari, I would like you to be open-minded to try one of the other arts at least a few times, because you may discover something you never even thought you liked. If not, you only lost a few classes. And most of them are surprised. So the minute they come in, we have that conversation. And the people that just won JKD and Kali, although they're smaller in numbers, I ask them to try the other arts too. And so we gain students in both arts from doing that.
Right. You're shaking your head in agreement, Ed?
Yeah, essentially I do the same thing to all my students. I have people that come in for a specific thing, whether they're like, I want to Muay Thai, I want to kickbox, or I want to grapple, I want to do jiu-jitsu. Mm-hmm. And then they see the stuff that we do in the Jeet Kune Do program, and they see the stuff that we do in the Kali program, and then they branch out from there. So I had a student who joined strictly for Jeet Kune Do, and now he's in everything. And he's competed in jiu-jitsu, and he loves it. And I do the same thing that Professor Mark does. I ask them to be open-minded. And sometimes it's hard. If you get an old school guy, like let's say you get someone from a different Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu background where they weren't so open-minded, where, this way is the only way, and they come in here and they're like, well, why are you wasting your time with that? It's like, well, everyone's time is different. My version of fun might be not the same version of fun that you have. Right. So, don't necessarily knock it till you try it.
Yeah. Yeah. And this is a question for both of you. How do you go about then setting up your weekly schedule of classes? Is it based on the numbers? So if more people are interested in this particular class, we offer more of that. How do you go about setting that up?
You want to answer Ed first, and then I'll follow up?
Sure. Yeah. So the way my schedule works is basically 4 days a week. I offer most classes 4 times a week. So like Monday through Thursday, I'll offer jiu-jitsu in the evening 4 times, and I'll offer Muay Thai 4 times. Kali and Jeet Kune Do, I offer only 3 times a week, but I put them on Friday. So it'll be Monday, Wednesday, Friday for my Jeet Kune Do and Kali people, and then Monday through Thursday for my Muay Thai and jiu-jitsu people. And then sometimes in the morning classes, if they want Muay Thai or I kind of, with my morning classes, I get a little off topic sometimes. I'll go into quad or, Jun Fan or whatever. So that's kind of how I break down my schedule. So they get enough of it throughout the week.
Right. And did you design a piece of software for that?
I didn't know. What I did for how to determine how many times to have each class would just basically supply and demand. If I had 4 people in my Jeet Kune Do class, but 20 people in my Muay Thai class, I'm going to cater towards the more popular thing just because it's a better use of the mat time. Doesn't mean I'm going to get rid of Jeet Kune Do, because I know a lot of schools that are Jeet Kune Do based will generally drift away to wherever wherever there's a lot of money. So that's how I did it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and us, we're open 6 days a week. We have morning classes, noon classes, night classes, have 2 people that work here full time. They've been with me for years. They're amazing people to have here. But we follow the groups for the prime time scheduling, and so kind of my I guess my advice or analogy or recommendation would be to put the biggest classes where the trends are, but never lose sight of the arts that you love, because they allow you to put those in the other time slots.
Yeah.
So, you know, we have JKD and Kali, and we have lab classes too, which is a really good way to go down a rabbit hole for Jun Fan or JKD. You know, depends on what you want to call it.
What did you call them?
Like a lab class.
Okay.
We have like our experimentation class where it'll be a little grappling. Now let me show you how to do that with a stick. Now let me show you how to do that with a knife.
Oh.
And so
You know what? So your lab class and your morning class where you go off topic, that's my class all the time.
yeah. And so yeah, that's it, man. And love it, you know, but it's that's how we do it, and we're going to maintain that. Even if there's only 3 people in that class, we have a good group, but I'm still going to do it, you know, because I like the art.
Are you full-time, Mark, there, or?
So I do 2 things. I own this academy, and I'm a full-time speaker and business consultant. So I do both.
Okay.
And, so that's where my business comes from. And so I can't do everything, and I don't want to be in one place 7 days a week. I'm here most of the time, 4 or 5 days a week, but I take 1 or 2 days off from here. And then the people that work here, I mean, to me, they're just, I can't imagine having better people work here. And so they fill in everything while I'm not here. And that's only 2 things I do, and I got enough to do. So, you know,
yeah. And
that's it.
And it's 3 kids, right?
I have twins, and we're adopting a girl right now. We're in the process. So she's my daughter. I've known her for years, but we're going through the paperwork to make that official. So I have 3 kids. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I saw and now because I'm not on Be Live, I can't do it. But on your because you have 2 Facebook pages, I think, if I remember.
I do.
correctly.
I have one for business and one for martial arts.
Right. And now I forget which one it is, but it looks as if it was a photograph of coffee beans.
Yes.
Right?
So let me give you a little insight. I built a brick pizza oven in my backyard, and I make amazing food, and I roast my own coffee beans.
Okay.
Let me tell you, when you roast your own coffee beans, you're going to be a coffee snob. It really makes it.
Right. What
In
a
a good
Renaissance man, huh, Ed?
Yeah, seriously, it's awesome. I look at his pictures of the pizza and I get so envious. I'm like, oh, I'm hungry now.
Yeah. I'm firing that thing up tomorrow. Let me tell you,
Oh,
it's my cheat meal. Yeah.
Oh man, that's so cool. See, it's stuff like this, right? Because you know how maybe Ed, you might be too young, but Mark, you might have come in on the tail end of it, where people thought that martial artists were just like your average meathead.
Right.
You know, and they had no idea. And then, you know, along comes Bruce Lee, and now there's the philosophy aspect of martial art and whatever, and stuff gets turned on its head, and now everybody tells you to be like water, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's like no matter what the situation is, be water is like the remedy for it, right? How important to the 2 of you, because we got 7 minutes remaining. So
Okay.
Tell me about Jeet Kune Do philosophy and what role it plays in your teaching and the running of the school.
So for me, it's important, like, and I say this to all my students, my job is not to teach you in a dogmatic way where you have to learn what I think you should learn. I'm going to put you in an environment, and I'm going to teach you, like, an analogy I use is Michelangelo and Rembrandt paint masterpieces. Completely different artists, but they both they have to know how to mix paint and use brushes, and then they paint their own pieces of beautiful of work. So I'm going to figure out what you're better at, what your tendencies and preferences are, and I'm going to guide you towards that and bring the best of that in you out. And that's my approach. And you don't know what your potential is yet, and I don't know what it is, but I know it's greater than what both of us think it is. So we have to figure that out together. And that's my approach. And I try to make everything and everyone around me in my life better in as many ways as possible, including me, especially me. I have to lead by example. And that's my simple philosophy, and the JKD philosophy of being very accepting of things and moving with them, and being ever changing, I think is a really important thing to teach everyone.
Yeah, and I'll piggyback off of that. Essentially, yeah, it's really important to be adaptive, right? You have to be able to adapt. And that's the one thing that I try to stress to my students. Like, you're all going to be different. You're all going to have different things that you like. You're going to have different moves that you like. Like, I encourage all of my students to grapple and try the jiu-jitsu program, because that is the quickest way to learn things that you like and dislike, and how well you are and how proficient you are at certain things, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Because sometimes if you're like, okay, you BG now tech, blah, 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 to know that you're like really proficient and good at that, it's sometimes hard to do that until you've done it a lot. Whereas in jiu-jitsu, you learn like that didn't work.
Right.
So you have to adapt and change. That's where I borrow a lot from the JKD philosophy. I try to avoid most of the online debate with it, because they get so, in my opinion, lost in the thing he said, they said, who said, they said. And it's just like, guys, just train. And like, yeah, it's important. Be like water, absorb what's useful, all that stuff. It's super important. Just train.
Yeah. I mean, instead of being good at arguing, how about be really good at being a human being?
100%.
The student.
Yeah, I told them. I told them last week, I think it was, or the week before. I go, don't waste my time. Don't get in touch with me if you want to talk about people. If you want to discuss ideas, now you reach out to me.
Yeah.
If you want to gossip about this and whatever, right? And so, and then this week, I reminded them of the Pareto principle, the 80-20 rule. And, and about being, I'll paraphrase it, but being a meaningful specific rather than a wandering generality.
Right.
Yeah.
Because of what I've chosen to do with the podcast, now I get involved in all the discussions and whatever.
Of course.
But I have to control, I have to maintain my sanity with it. So after a while, I thought, you know what, Dwight, just tell them where to get off. So if you're a high-level thinker in JKD, come my way. If you're not, see ya, right? Okay, all right. So on that note, we got 3 minutes. I got a whole lot of more stuff that I wanted to get into. I want to know, Mark, for example, how's BJJ going to be trained in post-COVID? I want to talk about what you took from this art and put into the JKD and vice versa and all that.
We should definitely do this again.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I'll get the laptops set up.
Okay.
And maybe we can do this again in another few weeks, because I think I have the next 4 weeks already scheduled. Right?
Okay.
But maybe and I'm sorry to pull this on you at the last minute, but this was fun. I hope you had a good time with it.
It was great, and I just appreciate you having us on the show and talking with you. And we haven't had a conversation this long ever before, so I appreciate it. And for the people that are watching this, we would love for you to send questions or ask us to share deeper insights and thoughts, and maybe even particulars on how we do things. But
hey,
maybe movement and concepts more.
Is I'll get a paid Zoom account, and we'll bring that guy Michael Brown on.
Yes. Oh my goodness.
Right?
We'll have some good stories.
Let's see if we can talk Rob Kelly into coming on.
That would be great.
Hey.
There you go.
Yeah.
That might be something, huh?
That would be amazing. Yeah. We're going to get a lot of good stories. Fun for sure.
I think I'm going to work on that.
I'm pretty sure Rob and Mike would do it. I'm pretty sure.
Oh, yeah.
I think I'm gonna work on that
We should do
because
that.
you guys are the second. I call it the JKD town hall, but you're the second 2-on-1 that I did. I don't know if you saw the one with Burt Richardson and Chris Kent,
Yes.
and people really enjoyed and enjoyed that one. So yeah, hey, this might become a thing.
It
Hey,
might be. Well,
I'm
thank
into
you
it.
so much.
Okay. All right, guys. All right. So take care. It was good to
All right.
good to spend some time with you. We'll do it again for sure. All right.
For sure. Thanks.
Okay.
Thank you.
Take care,
All
guys.
right. Take care. Bye. Okay, that's it. Feel free to share, like, comment, and ask questions if you want. I'll review everything after posting. Follow me on Twitter at Dwight Woods and on Instagram at Dwight D. Woods. At ilovejeetkundo.com. Quick Skills Series Volume 1 is still available. Volume 2 will be produced before the end of 2020. Coming up on the Jeet Kune Do Dialogues next time, Friday, June 12th, episode 130 with Bruce Wilkerson of American Gym Boxing. That should be at the regular 6 p.m. Eastern time next Friday, June 12th. And so I'll see some of you then. Rest of you, hopefully I'll see you on Wednesday for another issue of the I Love Jeet Kune Do broadcast. Until then, this is Dwight Woods, the Jeet Kune Do Rebel, signing off. Enjoy your weekend. I hope things are opening up where you are. Here in Florida, I think June next Monday we get to reopen the gyms in our phase 2. So I hope things are shaping up for you, that everything's quieted down wherever you are. All right, so take care, everybody. See you soon.